Welcome to Life Outdoors. Hey, I'm bringing a new segment to the Life Outdoors YouTube channel, and it is Fly Friday. And these are flies that I'm bringing that I've devised on my own from being a guide on the Williamson and the Rogue Rivers. And I thought it would be cool to bring these flies to you guys. The fly that I'm tying today is called the P.B.F.E. And a friend of mine named it because when I showed it to him, he goes, "That's probably the best fly ever." Use wherever there's damselflies and crustaceans. It'll copy a damselfly, a dragonfly, and probably some Hexagena mayfly emergers. And it also copies probably some small crawfish as well. So it's a very versatile fly. I kind of fall underneath that Polly Roseborough kind of thing. If you haven't read his book, he's got a book called Tying and Fishing the Fuzzy Nymph. And I kind of fall underneath that. I tie a lot of flies that can mimic a lot of different things because in the food groups, when you're matching hatches, a lot of times your hatches underneath the water are the biggest part of that hatch. So that's usually where I fish. I love to fish the swing. I love to fish trout spey. These are very effective patterns for that, and I've devised them for pretty much for trout spey. So to start with this fly off, let's start this fly. I start with a Daiichi hook, and I tie this in a 4, a 6, and a 8. I probably use the 6 the most. We'll go ahead and get that in the vise. Second thing we want to do is, this will be an olive fly, so everything that I use is olive. Okay, just like any other fly, you just start, wrap your way all the way to the back. Now, let me tighten down my vise there. Go all the way to the back here. Okay, now with this fly, one of the big things that you want to do with any kind of fly that you're going to be swinging especially is you want to add some movement to the fly. If there's a lot of movement under the water, that seems to entice the fish, and it looks like a live animal, a live fly under there. So one of the big things I like to use, and this is just rabbit fur zonker strips in olive, and I'll take some of the rabbit fur, and I like rabbit fur for the tails. I don't know if you guys look at your tails very much, but you probably have busted a lot of tails off over the years because the tails, if you tie them with feathers, they get really if you tie them with feathers, they get real delicate. So I always like to use fur in the tails if I could get away with it, if I'm going after that movement of a tail. All right, the next thing is gold wire. Gold wire is pretty important here, and mine came off of my spool, but I think you get the drift. I use brassy size gold wire, and it's the reason I use gold is you'll see here in a second. One of the major things that are huge for us that we need to understand is each fly that's under the water, when they're emerging, a fly, I don't know if you guys have ever looked at flies underwater. Go on YouTube and check out some insect videos and things like that. But when the flies are emerging underwater, what they do is they have bubbles underneath that their nymphal skin when they're coming out. So those bubbles shine. So you have to make sure that your flies, especially if you're fishing emergers, maybe not a nymph that's bouncing off the bottom that isn't ready to emerge yet, but on your emerger flies, you either need to trap air into that. That's why hare's ear works so well, because hare's ear will trap air underneath the water, or you need to add some flash on your own. So I use Vivus tinsel, and it's a plastic tinsel. But notice how green this is. Now the reason I run green is because it'll show up, it's going to flash hints of green, but I'll calm it down to that olive color that we're looking for, that damsel olive. I'll calm it down with some of that gold tinsel. So I tied the the gold wire in. Now we're going to go ahead and go up. And you guys, this fly on still waters, anywhere that you have those, and I'm missing some there, you'll notice that my flies are not perfect. I'm a guide. I want to get stuff. It's a lot of work to put a fly together, so that's so my flies get thrown together. I'm trying not to really be too slow today, but trying to make it look a little better. But you'll notice that I'm not that good of a fly tyer. I make flies that work and flies that catch fish, and that's what I'm after. All right, so take your Vivas, cut it off. Now this will tone that green color down a little bit. Watch what this does when you start wrapping the wire around. Notice, and anytime you use tinsel, you better put wire over the top of it if you want that fly to last any time, because especially the type of fish that this fly catches, they're all big and they got big teeth. Those Williamson River fish are huge fish. So notice how that made that whole section of that fly kind of turn olive instead of just green. All right. Sorry about the camera shake. If it's shaking too much for you guys, I got a cheesy tripod and I'm going to have to buy another one because that one's not going to work. It's cheesy. So once you have your abdomen made up, you have your tail in, and you got some flash in there, right? And you kind of toned down that flash a little bit with the ribbing and used gold tinsel ribbing. Now, the head part will be made out of ice dub, and I of course I like the golden brown ice dub. If you notice, if you look at all my golden brown ice dub, I go through tons of this stuff. A little trick for you guys to understand about maybe fishing over in Klamath Basin or fishing over in the Williamson River and things like that. All right, this is probably one of the tricks. I don't know if this is what really creates a lot of the buzz, but this really does help a lot. All right, so this is fly enhancer. Basically all it is silicone legs, and I get them in olive. Now on if you notice the olive legs, they come in, I don't know if that's in focus. Here, we'll get just one here. They come in several different and two different colors there. So one's darker and one's lighter. I'll use both. I'll tie some with the dark, some with the light, and then I'll adjust the fly to what I'm going to do. So I like to put these in. I like to just tie them in. I seem to have more control over them this way. And I'll put 4 in. I like to have 4 legs in. I don't know why. Just because maybe most animals have 4 legs. Most land animals, maybe that's why. But I'll put another couple in. And you could double up on these if you cut your rubber longer. And I've done that before too. It's just I don't get that same coloring with the mixed color rubber legs. Okay, so they're tied in. We'll straighten those legs out when we dub in. Again, we'll take the ice dub. This stuff doesn't dub real tight, which is fine. We'll get that in there. And notice how I make a funnel out of the dubbing. I always want this part to be the least. That way when I go on there, I'm not building up a bunch in the back. It kind of builds. It just looks more natural to me. Okay, so I pull those forward and I'm going to start dubbing all the way up. And then I'll mess around with the legs as I go. So we got one set of legs built there. Take the other two, the ones that I messed up. That's why I wasn't too worried about them, because this will usually fix them. Okay, now I like to build a pretty good sized ball there up at the tip. And you see how it kind of pulled the legs all around. So I have, now when I go to tighten this ball, all I do is I tighten it. And I lay those legs around the back. Now it provides just enough movement. Those rubber legs will provide just enough movement, but at the same time, they're not sticking straight out. You never see a fly emerging with its legs stuck against the current. They always emerge with the current. Okay, tie it off. Get her close, and there you go. That is the P.B.F.E, probably the best fly ever. And if you look at it, the way that it works, it's a great emerging pattern. It still holds its volume, so all of this stuff gets ripped off and holds its volume back here, so it looks like a big air bubble as it's coming up. And if you look at all emerging flies, they have an air bubble on them. And so it's a perfect swing fly because you could swing it along, keep tension off of it. Once you get to where you know where the fish are, you bring tension to it. If you got it on a good sink tip, and it'll start rising right in front of where the fish are, and it'll be really natural. All right, so there's your tip. Hey guys, if you like this stuff, subscribe. We're going to bring so much more to you. Subscribe and then hit that little bell so you'll know whenever one of our videos comes out. Thanks a lot. Take care. That is the P.B.F.E. Olive.